there is really no need to introduce the athlete, Colin Jackson. You have seen all his many and big achievements, and you have that in the event guide. But there is also the man, Colin Jackson. He is also an inspiring person. If you could see the picture in the event guide also that is sent to us, he looks really cool. He looks trustfully. He looks inspiring, I have to say. And we are really happy to have Colin Jackson with us to make us dream. And I was flying 2 days ago from Vienna to Skopje, and in the plane I was drinking a cup of coffee, and it was written, "Let your thoughts fly." That's the unique message to you with Colin Jackson, "Let your thoughts fly." Thank you very much. Please, Colin.
Oh, well, first of all, I can say it's absolutely wonderful that I'm here, because I very much feel that I'm talking to family members. Okay, I think that is always the best thing, when you come and you can actually speak to people who really understand you and know you. Now, there's some people in this room who know me very well. There's some people who know me just because they read some statistics. But I think for me, I'd like to give you all just a little bit of a reminder of what I've done in the past, and actually what's happened so far in the present and may continue in the future. So let's have a look at this first video.
Sticks to the wall, like the seashore clings to the sea, like you'll never get rid of your shadow, you'll never get rid of me. Let all the others fight and fuss, whatever happens, we got us. Because of the cages that's getting on behind. Shadow, wherever you find me, you'll find me just for me. Most of the eyes are all shadow stars. They need a lot more love to bring us apart. We're alone but far from you. Before we get finished, we'll make the town roar. We hit a few late spots and then a few more. We'll stop by the stringies and maybe a show. It's gonna be a wow wow wee. Oh my shadow and me. Time won't erase his name. The fact is, the only word that really brings enjoyment is the kind of place for girl and boy meant to fall in love. You won't regret it, that's the best word of all if you can get it. Loving one who loves you, and then taking that vow. Nice word if you can get it, and if you can get it, oh, won't you tell me?
I tell you what, when I broke the world record in Stuttgart in 1993, if you'd have told me that 12 years later I'll be dancing live on a Saturday night on the BBC, I would have said, hell no, right? So you never know where your future lies, okay? I'm not sure you're all going to be ballroom dancers, but you never know what's going to happen to you. But bizarrely enough, there was a reason why I ended up on that show, and it was a simple one. My friend actually was producing it, and he asked me the question, would I participate in a dance show? And of course, my first answer was, hell no. But the reality was, well, I'd fancied having a go. And who really wouldn't turn down the opportunity of dancing with a beautiful girl in her arm, right? And they're going to pay you for it? It seems like the world's your oyster. It's working well. But I'll tell you a little bit about that journey. And because you have to work very much as a team in the world of ballroom dancing, because if you get in the way of your dancer, there's going to be a lot of trouble. And especially when the audience is watching and waiting for you to make mistakes. Now, when I was first asked to do the show, and I agreed eventually and started thinking about it, my actual dance partner, who you saw there, Erin Bogue, asked me before, had I danced before? And I said simply, no. And she said, well, when are you ready to start training? And I said to her clearly, well, if I'm totally honest, the show starts in 3 weeks' time, but I need to go on a vacation because I've had a long year. She looked at me with disbelief. She really thought I was joking. No. I am going to vacation for 10 days. She looked at me quite confused, and she said, well, do you think you'll be able to manage this show? I'm a world champion. To dance must be very easy. She looked at me and she smiled. And she said, enjoy your holiday. That left me thinking. Well, on my return, as you can imagine, I was ready. I was enthusiastic and ready to crack on with this whole new, brand new challenge of learning to ballroom dance. Then she broke the news to me that the first thing I was going to have to learn was a dance called the cha-cha-cha. Do you all know what a cha-cha-cha is? A Latin dance which is pretty quick. She thought it'd be easy for me since I came from the world of sprinting. But I didn't realize how difficult it is to dance in time to music at speed, especially when there's somebody pinned next to you. It was going to be a challenge. But I'd taken on many things in my life before, and I was pretty sure I could deal with this challenge. Well, we put days of training in, and remember, I only had 10 days before the actual show went live. And day 5, and this is the absolute truth, day 5, I still had no idea what I was doing. And I thought to myself, I'm going to have to get out of this show because I can't embarrass myself in front of 11 million people. So I tried everything. I threw myself down the stairs, I tried to slip on the floor, nothing was happening. I was going to have to dance on this Saturday night. She then broke the news to me. She said, well, remember, Colin, as I'm dancing now, I don't really look particularly smart, so I will look a little bit different when it comes to the real event. So I didn't think anything of it. I thought, well, how can she look any different? A face is a face, a person is a person, a body is a body. But let's see what happens when reality kicks in. Now, the very first thing that happens on the live show is that you have to do what we call a band rehearsal. So you listen to the music that the live band is playing, and then you try to adapt your dance steps to that. And my dance partner, Erin, at the time, well, she just had a little jacket on, and she had her head in a scarf. And she was fully made up, but I couldn't see what she was talking about, how she was going to look anything different. So we continued with the practice with the band, and everything looked absolutely perfect. Well, like in athletics, that time arrives. You walk out of the call room and you go on the track. Well, in this circumstance, you walk out of the green room and you go onto the dance floor and you're ready. At that stage, the little floor manager runs on and says to Erin, can I take your clothes? So she takes off her scarf, she throws it at the floor manager, then she takes off her jacket, revealing in what I could say, well, a skirt that was this long and a top that was this long. And she looked at me straight in the eyes and she said to me, concentrate. Okay, I can focus, I can concentrate. Well, the dance started itself, and And it all went remarkably well, and I was absolutely surprised. Apart from one little point when she said to me, by the way, if my dress really catches anywhere in your belt or anything like that, just rip it off. Well, you can imagine when it's only this big, there's not much to rip. Unfortunately, it got caught. And I thought about it. Do I rip her dress, as she told me to do, or do I throw her off me? I took the second option, and I flung her. And she went into this beautiful spin like nothing had happened, and just continued with the dance. When we came off the dance floor, I could see the presenter looking at me, and he grabbed me over and he said, I saw her dress catch. Why didn't you rip it? And I thought, because you're a dirty old man, and that's the reason why I didn't rip it. But reality is, when you're working in a partnership, you have to work absolutely together for the real final cause. As a young man, I really did dare to dream. There's a time in your life when you think about what a daydream can actually do. And it can give you drive, absolutely, and it can also give you what I describe it as focus. As a young man, my dream was to be the best I could possibly be. And why not? It's a dream that I wanted to do. I felt, why not be the best you could possibly be? Just try it and see what magic can absolutely happen. But as you can imagine, as you get better and better, you get more successful, there's things that really come into play, and you start to judge your success, as I call it, in materialistic ways. And for me, the first thing I thought was, to be successful, I needed to drive a really fast car, I needed to have a really big house, and some nice clothes. That really will define me as being successful. But the reality of that story is that it's not true. Success comes from here and how you feel in here and what you've achieved in your life. So now I really feel I've gone full circle, and I can look at what I've done and really realize that I don't need those material trimmings. I understand truly what success is all about. Well, as you can imagine, in the world of sport, daydreams only can take you so far. You have to train hard. There's an expectation of you, and simply, you have to deliver. Now, there were a couple of times in my life when I really never set a gold medal as the genuine target. Because think about it, when you're setting yourself goals, in my opinion, have to be right and realistic for the present time. They shouldn't just be loose words and loose ideas. You set out and you strive, but you also have to be very, very realistic what you can achieve. And as I said, there was twice in my life where I didn't set out of winning to be my real goal, my realistic goal. It was a silver medal, was going to be my major target. And the first time in my life, that was in 1986, and it was the Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh. Now, I knew I wasn't the best in the Commonwealth at the age of 19. Canadian by the name of Mark McCoy, which I hope you all remember. He was the main man. And as a 19-year-old, I thought I was the second best, so I really cannot come home with anything except the silver medal. Well, as the race itself actually unfolded, yep, I was right. Mark won the race, and I came home in second place. A huge tick. But I expected to come home in the second place, so what else did I get from that competition? Well, the reality was I ran faster than I'd ever run before. So I'd really take my performance up and beyond anything that I achieved so far in my life. So really, how could I say in any way that finishing second or setting myself the target for second was a failure? Not at all. Funny enough, that same year I went to the European Championships in Stuttgart in 1986, and many of you remember that. And for me, it was a fantastic championships. It was the first time I'd ever been to a Europeans, and Britain seemed to be doing very well indeed. But unfortunately for me, I pulled my hamstring during the warm-up, so I couldn't see the competition. My coach, a man by the name of Malcolm Arnold, who coached me through my whole career, said to me, as a 19-year-old boy, get out there and have a look at how these athletes are competing, because you can learn so much. I was a teenager. I was upset because I was injured, and I was grumpy. I didn't want to go. It was cold. I wanted to just stay inside and really wallow in my sorrow and let people put pity on me. He insisted that I went out and watched athletes warm up, prepare, and deliver their performance. I went outside begrudgingly, and I sat on the back straight with my arms crossed and was just watching the competition. And the very first competition that came on the track was the women's 200 meters. Now, this grabbed my attention straight away, and there was a reason why it did so. It was because I saw a long jumper, in my opinion, lining up for the women's 200-meter final. And I was thinking to myself, why has a long jumper even made it into this final? Unheard of. The long jumper, of course, was Heike Dressler. I watched. When the gun went, Heike absolutely tore around the turn. And she just kept going and going and going. And she crossed the line first to equal the world record of 21:71. I couldn't believe it. The word I was absolutely gobsmacked. Because this race was so inspirational for me for two reasons. A, it was the first time I ever had witnessed a world record. And B, because somebody, as far as I'm concerned, who shouldn't be in the final, is there competing. And she goes on and wins it. Incredible. I hobbled back into the warm-up track to find my coach. And I said to him, did you see that 200-meter race? He said, yep. He said, that's the reason why I told you to go out there and watch it. I went back out into the stand, and the German crowd were absolutely crying out Heike's name. Heike Dressler, Heike Dressler. And it gave me real goose pimples. My coach at this stage had turned up, and he sat next to me, and I smiled at him, and I said to him, can you hear that crowd? He said, yeah. I said, do you think a crowd will ever scream my name like that? And he looked at me, he said, you're from Wales. Nothing like that happens to Welsh boys. Or perhaps he's true. But I knew it inspired me, and it really had motivated me. As we arrived back in the UK to start preparing for the winter, he then asked me a couple of questions. He said to me, what gets you up in the morning? Well, I said simply, the desire to do well. He said, if you have a desire to do well, who do you pull in as a motivating factor? Who do you want to be like? Who has certain elements of them that you are attracted to? And I said, well, first of all, Malcolm, I must admit, Heike Dressler's performance at the European Championships, winning that 200, setting a world record, has really been a huge motivating factor for me, because I would like to achieve that one day. And he said, good, I like that. He said, anyone else? I said, of course, Malcolm, you, as my coach, you very much motivate me, because without your knowledge and skill, I won't be able to perform. It's as simple as that. He very much liked that. I then said to him, there's one other person, I think, that comes to mind, and I hope you all remember this guy. Do you all remember Linford Christie? Yeah? I said, everybody nods, yes. Linford Christie. He said, well, why Linford? What's so motivating or inspirational about Linford, in your opinion? And I said, you know, when Linford walks into a room, he has what I describe as presence. Everybody looks, and they know he's there. I said, I love that. He went, okay, I totally understand that. Anyone else? I said, well, yeah, just one other person. He said, who's that? I said, well, my all-time hero in the sport of athletics. He said, well, who is that? And I hope you all remember this guy too. Do you all remember Daley Thompson? Daley Thompson. And the reason why it was Daley Thompson was simply, in my opinion, he had won absolutely everything in our sport. He was a world record holder, he was a Commonwealth champion, European champion, Olympic champion. He'd done absolutely everything. And what was key to me at that age as well, he drove a Porsche, and I wanted that Porsche too. Malcolm smiled. He went, if that's what gets you up in the day and will make you work harder, let's use it. Now, he said, remember, you can't be any of those people, actually, but you can take what motivates you every single day and use that to be your driving factor. It will help you fulfill your dream. I smiled. Well, the next time was our biggest competition as a young person. For me, at the age of 21, I was going to go to the Olympic Games in Seoul. And that was the second time in my career where I ever set myself as coming second to be the right and the realistic target. The main man, obviously, was from the United States by the name of Roger Kingdom. And Roger was already the Olympic champion. He was clearly the best in the world, but I was ranked number 2. I couldn't come home with anything less than an Olympic silver medal. Well, the rounds went very well. The first round was great. Second round was nearly flawless. Semi-final, cool, and now I'm in the final. At the age of 21, I'm thinking to myself, I am not only an Olympian, I have a real shot at becoming an Olympic medalist. I looked around the call room, and there was lots of people who looked very, very worried indeed. So I thought to myself, well, I'm 21, I've got plenty of Olympic Games in front of me. Let's play some games. So I looked around the call room, and the first person that caught my eye was an American who ran me close, young guy by the name of Arthur Blake. So I looked at Arthur Blake directly in his eyes, and Arthur looked at me, and then he put his head down. And I thought, great, I've beaten him already. That's that one. Let me look around the call room again. Who else is here? Shiskin. He ran me very close in that semi-final. Let me see if he's with it. So I looked at Shiskin straight in his eyes. He looked at me, and he put his head down. And I thought, this is the easiest competition I've ever been with in my life. Where's the main man? Roger Kingdom. Let me scan for Roger Kingdom. And there I found him. So I looked at Roger very intensely, straight in his eyes. And Roger, he looked directly at me. And then I put my head down. Absolutely devastated, I let myself down. But the reality was, it seemed to work. We went out on the track. Gun went. Roger won. And I came home with an Olympic silver medal. Can you imagine how excited I was? Because I was looking at Roger Kingdom thinking, in 4 years' time, you'll be way too old, and I will be on that top of the rostrum. I was excited, I was enthusiastic, and now I've already got something, my Olympic silver to work with. I was lucky enough at those Olympic Games to have my all-time hero in the team with me, Daley Thompson, but I didn't really know him that well. So I thought to myself, if there's ever going to be a time to talk to my hero, it's now, while I've got this medal. So I went to his room and I knocked the door. Nothing. So I knocked the door a little louder. I heard a bit of rustling. The door flew open and there was Daley Thompson. And I looked at Daley and I said to him, Mr. Thompson, my name is Colin Jackson. And he said to me, I know exactly who you are. I said, I competed yesterday, and I'd like to show you what I won. So from behind my back, I took out this absolutely beautiful, shiny, shiny Olympic medal, the silver medal in the box, and I proudly showed it to Daley. And Daley, well, he looked at me, then he looked at the medal, then he looked at me, then he looked back at the medal, and then he said to me, I didn't realize they made Olympic medals in that color. You can go off people quickly, right? Then he smiled, and he invited me into his room. And I sat there with him, and he said to me, Colin, this is absolutely a fantastic start for you. No doubt about it. But don't rest here. You can go up and beyond this Olympic silver medal. But you can never do it on your own. Have a good team of people around you who share the same desires as you to achieve great things. Anybody else or anything else will be distracting. Keep focused, but get that team in place. I listened to what he said and I was unsure where to start. I left his room and I spoke to my coach. And he said, well, that man's achieved everything. Listen to him. So the first thing I did is look at the mistakes that I'd made and where I thought my weaknesses lay. And the first thing I thought, well, I'm not really that quick. I'm okay as a sprinter, but I'm not particularly that fast. So perhaps I need to work with somebody who's much faster than me on the flat. So I gave Linford Christie a ring. Why not? I rang Linford and I said, can you train with me? And he said, sure, I would absolutely love to train with you. That works well. I said, great, fantastic. The next thing I looked at that I thought that could be improved rapidly was my start. Start wasn't the best. But I thought if I could get to the first hurdle a little bit quicker, it may make a significant difference when it comes to the race at the end. So I invited Mark McCoy from Canada to join me and the training group, and he was one of the fastest starters in the world, so to me it made sense, and he was also a good hurdler. I'll work with him. I rang him, and he said happily, yes, Colin, I would absolutely love to join your group. Now, I feel like I'm ready. I've got my training partners who are both dedicated and inspirational in their own way, and all of us are focused on delivering the best we can deliver at the moment in time. Our target was Barcelona, 1992. Now, we had to go away on a training camp somewhere, and we were all scratching our heads to think of, well, where can we go for a training camp where the sun always shines, we can get a direct flight to Barcelona, but the reality is in those days we didn't have any money. So we thought, where can we go to train? And we decided to train in Monaco. Okay. Now, I mean, many people would smile and think, Monaco? Why are you going to Monaco? Well, the main reason was they had a fantastic track, and there was that beautiful golden sun, and we were all together. That was the most important thing. Now, bizarrely enough, I'll tell you a little story what happened when we were there in Monaco. One day, Malcolm came into the breakfast room, and he looked at us all, and he was really kind of ashen, quite white. And we said to him, Malcolm, what's wrong? And he said, oh, last night, he said, the hotel manager came into my room. We're like, really? He said, yes. And then he started to speak to me in French, and he said to me that, where's my wife? We were like, sorry? He said, yes. We were saying, where's my wife? So we were all very confused. We said, well, what did you say? He said, oh, he was drunk, so he realized that, and then he just left. So 3 boys, well, we just laughed. And then we turned around and looked at each other and really laughed, because then we realized if the actual hotel manager had gone 2 rooms down, he'd actually found his wife with Mark McCoy. But that's another story. We were absolutely there just to train and to focus on the Olympic Games. That's what we were there to do. Even though we seemed to have a bit of fun, but the reality was we were there as a group to deliver. Well, when we left and got to Barcelona, as you can imagine, what we were trying to do is really encourage Linford to go out there and try and see if he could win. He wasn't the best sprinter in the world at that moment in time, but we knew that if he was at 60 meters with his main rivals, he had more than a chance of winning it, because undoubtedly he was the strongest finisher. He progressed nicely through to the final. As you can imagine, we sat there waiting when the Olympic final was going to take place. Well, when the gun went, he had a really good start. And by 10 meters, he was a little bit down. By 20, he seemed to be gaining on the field. And by 40 meters, he was neck and neck with everybody. We all started to smile. At 60, he started to inch away. 70, a clear lead. And at 80, we could see he just wanted the line to come. He crossed the line first to become the Olympic champion. The whole group were ecstatic. One of us had achieved their dream. Well, me, I was the best in the world by now. And I was just rubbing my hands together thinking, in 4 days' time, it's my time to start my quest to be the Olympic champion. The question was, All the training done? Was I ready? I felt I was. So, let's have a look at round 1 in Barcelona, just to give you all a reminder how that race went.
Colin Jackson, silver medal 4 years ago in Seoul, in very, very good form. Roommate of Bernford Christie, of course, in the Olympic Village. Coached by Malcolm Arnold, has had a superb winter's preparation for this season, and it's begun to show in terms of time. First heat then, 110 meters hurdles. Jackson already leading by a considerable margin, and Philippe going quite well, but Jackson absolutely out on his own. So a superb performance. He's 6 or 7 meters up, Valley in second place, Shiskin in third, and 13.10, and the wind speed 0.9, and I think that says everything. That was a dominant piece of qualification.
Yeah. 13.10, and I absolutely coasted in. I felt I had arrived in great shape. Now, I picked up all my bags and I went to the warm-up track to speak to my coach. And he said to me, Colin, what are you going to do now? 13.10, only one other athlete's run faster than that this year, so how would you feel? I said, I feel good. Preparation has gone very well, obviously. I'm ready to go. He said to me, what are you going to do between now and the second round? Because you've only got a couple of hours left. I smiled and I said to him, absolutely nothing. He said, what do you mean nothing? I said, absolutely nothing. I really feel I don't need to do anything. I'm in great physical shape. You just saw exactly what I've done. So I'll let it be. It's only the second round, Malcolm. Who really needs to focus on the second round? He said, let me tell you one thing. He said, complacency is a huge problem in our sport. Arrogance borders on a little bit of too much of self-confidence. And if you're too arrogant and self-confident, it can return and bite you severely on your backside. I smiled. I said, don't worry, Malcolm. I've got it under control. He said, well, on your head be it. I said, yeah, I'm willing to take whatever, but I should be fine. Let's have a look at round 2.
Let me just remind you of the lineup for the second. Torre of France, Kazanov of Latvia, Shiskin of the Unified Team, Roker of Austria, Pierce of the United States, Jackson of Great Britain, Abakovsky of Finland, Sala of Spain, Buckner of Jamaica. First walk. Away from the time, and Jackson's on just to the first turn of Pierce is really going on, and Roker going well, and when Jackson's really going on, Pierce going through, and Pierce is strong away at the moment, not such a good run by Jackson here, Pierce and Jackson 13.18, and Colin not too convincing there. Stuart, I think you'll find that he hit bottom 3. Have a look at this. 6 from the right, Colin Jackson gets to the first hurdle first, gets there okay, is clear there. Hits that one with a trail leg and stumbles a little. There is very poorly off the hurdle. His rhythm's gone, he hit that one badly as well. And that one. His rhythm's gone, he's struggling now, and Colin had to work very, very hard indeed to get his rhythm back.
Well, when you live at the level that Jackson does, if you're going to have a bad race, this is the time to have it. By his standards, that was a poor race indeed. But he can get that out of his system now.
Poor race indeed. And a simple reason for that poor race. I didn't prepare. I just took it for granted that because I ran well 3 hours ago, my body will be absolutely fine to deliver the exact same race 3 hours later. I took myself for granted, I took my opponent for granted, and I've paid a very, very severe cost. I woke up next day, obviously getting ready for the semi-final, and what I presumed was going to be my Olympic title and my victory. But when I took my very first step out of bed, I had this absolutely huge stabbing pain in my left-hand side. I realized then that I tore my left oblique. I could not believe it. One silly mistake. 4 years of hard work, 4 years of preparation, and just a moment of arrogance has cost me my dream. But as all athletes are, we really still think, well, magic may happen, so I could be all right. I got to the track, and this time, it's not that I didn't want to warm up, I physically couldn't. The muscle was tightening up every single moment, and I knew I was in trouble. My training partner, Mark McCoy, was running very well, but I felt I couldn't tell anybody that I was injured. I certainly couldn't talk to my coach, because literally, he would have said, "I told you so." I was devastated, but I still had hope, and I still had that dream. Let's see what happens when we lined up for the semi-final.
Jackson's looking thoughtful. That's McCoy. He's in lane 4. The first 4 into the final. The third time they go. And McCoy got a brilliant start, and Jackson away well. And it's McCoy up front and leading. Also on the far side is Tony Dees. McCoy and Jackson coming through. Here's that one, but he's clean now. McCoy comes through to win it. Jackson second, Blake third. The time 13:13. And the message going around the stadium that Jackson starts as favourite, came to the games as favourite, but he's got some real opposition.
Yeah, and the opposition, as I said, comes from my training partner, somebody who worked with me every single day for 4 years, knew exactly my strengths, my weaknesses, and he also recognized when things weren't going very well. And he knew I was in trouble. He's an athlete, he's a competitor, and if the world number 1 is in any trouble, the world number 2 wants to capitalize on it. I knew that I wasn't going to win. It's as simple as that. Every single moment, this muscle just got stiffer and stiffer, and it just wasn't going to happen for me. But I said I still had hope. But what I was looking for when we lined up was that absolutely we got a clean start, and there was no false start. Because if there was a false start, it just meant a lingering moment of more pain. We line up in the Olympic final in Barcelona, and I have hope for an absolutely flawless start. Let's see.
So, the moment that Jackson has looked forward to, has waited for, and will he realise his dream? He's beaten everyone in this field this season, it's Colin Jackson, but can he do it now? Huey Teague has done remarkably well to reach this final. From Hackney, from the borough of Enfield Harrods. A real opportunity for him. The final of the 110 metres hurdle. And it was Teague in lane 1. Very, very uneasy. Teague clearly the man to break. To get to that first hurdle first, vital importance. Teague tried it, it didn't work. Look at the look of concentration in the face of Colin Jackson.
That's fear. Okay, that look, that's not concentrated whatsoever. I was terrified. I had a goal, I had an objective, and I felt I was not going to do it. But we had a false start. And the false start came from my teammate, my team member, Hugh Teague. I actually asked Hugh about it. And I said to him, during the Olympic final, why did you have that false start? And he said to me, do you know what, Colin? He said, I was absolutely not supposed to be in that Olympic final. And there was only one way I was going to get my name mentioned on the TV, and it was if I had a false start. Do you know, I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe what I was hearing. But then, you know, reality kind of kicks into you then, and I thought to myself, do you know what? He is right. The Olympic Games as a race, as a competition, is for everybody. And everybody's achievements in the Olympic Games are their own personal goal. And for Hugh to make the Olympic final was like me winning the Olympic Games. So why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he celebrate it? It's his games as anybody else's. So with that in mind, I had to pay him a lot of respect. He'd achieved it, and he was enjoying the moment. Well, me, I had to refocus. I had to get ready. I had to try and win in Barcelona. Pressure's on. My nation is expecting. Let's watch that race. Can you imagine how I felt? The man I actually invited into my training group with me steals the title that I was working for. Well, he didn't really steal it. It was me. I had bad focus, I had a bad attitude, and I paid a huge price. I went to see my coach, and he just shrugged his shoulders, and he said to me, you know, well, I did coach the Olympic champion, right? It just ended up he was wearing a Canadian vest, not a British one. It was true. There was a huge sense of expectation of my nation, and I felt I let them down. I was absolutely devastated, and I didn't know what to do. My coach said to me, "Where do you think you went wrong?" And I said, "That was easy. I just clobbered lots of hurdles." He said, "No, that's not the reason." Then he made me think, and it was truly about focus, not delivering when it really mattered. I knew what I was capable of, and I let my whole team down. He said to me then, "What do you want to do? Do you want to retire?" And at the age of 25, it crossed my mind. Because I thought, well, My youth is behind me. Now it just gets worse. He said, next year, there's a World Championships in Stuttgart. Do you fancy getting ready for them? I thought about it, and I said, yeah. Perhaps I can change people's opinion of me. He said, well, if you promise to work hard, let's see. Well, that winter, I worked exceptionally hard. Left no stone unturned. I was focused and I was committed, and there was only one goal: to become the world champion. My training partners knew that's what I was heading to do, and they knew nothing was going to stop me. Not this time. Last time it was my mind. My body got injured. It let me down. It's about refocusing and delivering. When we got to Stuttgart, as normal as you can imagine, 100 meters goes first, and now Linford stands on the track as not just the fastest in Europe, but also the Olympic champion. And he made it through all his rounds well, and then he crossed the line in the final in a time of 9.87 seconds, just 1/100th of a second outside the world record at that particular moment. I was excited, but I had to wait 4 days as for the Olympics. I did the first round very well. This time, I warmed up for the second round. No mistakes. I got through to the semi-final well, crossed the line. I knew I was going to be ready. Well, the next day when I woke up for the final, I was excited, but I was also nervous. I was wondering what was happening at home. What were my friends and family doing at home? And bizarrely enough, about an hour before I left to go to the stadium, I rang home. My mother picked up the phone, and she said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm getting ready to leave to go to race." I said, "I didn't really ring to find out about that. I'm just wondering what you're doing, man." And she said, "Well, I'm just cooking food." I went, "Oh, okay, that's great." I said, "Daddy, what's Daddy doing?" She said, "Oh, your father's outside, he's washing all the cars." I went, "Oh, okay, that's great, fantastic. I think I'm about to race my most important race of my life, and you're cooking and Daddy's washing cars, and okay, but nobody seems to be sitting around the television. That's slightly nerve-wracking for me." But then I said, "How about Suzanne, who's my sister?" I said, "What's Suzanne doing?" "Oh, your sister's upstairs." I said, "What's she doing though?" "She's putting on makeup." I said, "She's putting on makeup?" She said, "Oh, yes. She said, "There are thousands of cameras outside, and your sister says she wants to look the best when you win tonight." And you know, I smiled, and I thought, even with everything that went on last year, they still believe in me. And that really gave me another set of emotions. It allowed me to refocus. Now people believed, and now I am really going to deliver. I got to the stadium ready. My coach, he looked, he smiled, he gave me a high five. He said, "Do it for yourself." I smiled, and I got down to the line. Let's watch that race in Stuttgart.
Time to silence the critics to prove he is the man for the big occasion.
And I think it's World Championship final. Oh, Jackson's going to go on. It's Jackson in the first one. Well, it's clear Skopje. And it's Jackson going away. 2 to go. Jackson takes it. 12.91. New championship record. And I make that a new world record for Colin Jackson.
Colin Jackson, the fastest sprint hurdler the world has ever seen.
That was a genuine smile and a lot of relief. I achieved it. I went out there at a performance that was up and beyond my dreams. I really didn't go there to break the world record. I went there just to win the title. And when I went round the back straight on my lap of honor, And I had this big, huge smile. And I looked on the scoreboard, and it said there that I was the new world champion and the new world record holder. Can you imagine the feeling then? Completely reverse of what happened the year before. As I started to come down the home straight, the Germans crowd in Stuttgart started to chant my name. Colin Jackson, Colin Jackson. And there I saw my coach. And I walked up to him, and I put my hand out to him. And I said to him, "Can you hear that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "See, it does happen to Welsh boys." And he just smiled. You know, for me, it was all about a dream. I worked hard and I was committed to it. And ultimately, when push came to shove, I really delivered the goods. But as I say, I had to look around and I had to learn from many people who were better than me. Many people who had other opinions and other ideas of what it takes to get it to the top of your game. And I was wise. And I pulled everything from everyone around me and applied it to me, to myself, to help me perform. If you think about it, all of you in this room have those type of people around you. People who can motivate you and people who can inspire you. You all set goals, you all have objectives, you all have opinions. You all want to do the best you possibly can do deep down. I managed to do it, but I learned from the best. You guys are in a unique position. You're a congress today. You're a family. Use that family unit well. Use the experience of people around you. Take the youthful spirit of others. Take the wise heads from others and apply them to what you can do best to help our sport grow and grow. I was lucky enough to be on the track, one of the people in the shop window. You guys have made it happen. Without your real grit and determination in delivering many championships beforehand, I really wouldn't be here today. I still get inspired every single day by people's skills, how many skills are transferable, how we look at each other. Life is about learning. We learn by mistakes, we change those mistakes, and we just try deep down to make things better. When people ask me a simple question, "Colin, what do you do?" My answer is simple. I always dare to dream, because if you really work hard, sometimes those dreams can come true. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I always kind of stay up here after I've delivered something like that, just in case anybody's got any questions that they would like to ask me about absolutely anything. Whether I still ballroom dance, if I can still hurdle, the answer is no to both. Any questions? Oh, wonderful. Enjoy.
What a great lesson of life we received today. It's really a pity we are not at the theater, because he could redo something for us. Is to adjust really a really thrilling, amazing presentation. I guess like you, like me, you are also speechless. It was really a fantastic presentation. Thank you really very much, Colin. I really would like to insist, if there is no any question, really take advantage of Colin Jackson to be with us. We have time. No stupid question, of course. Dare to dream and dare to ask. Yes.
It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to make a question or to put a question to you.
Thank you.
We talk a lot about talent, youth, talent athletes. What is for you talent?
You know, talent for me is something that comes from within. So the talent is the ability to use what God gives you. So if you're born with strength and with leg speed, it's a real sin if you don't use them to achieve the best that you could possibly achieve. So the real talent for me is to apply the skills that you've learned on a regular basis. That is the key talent.